There was a quiet book signing this afternoon at the Alaska Aviation Heritage Museum.
A son and daughter are in town to share their father's rich history with the state he helped build.
Here Channel 2's Ted Land and photojournalist Phil Walczak with tonight's Assignment Alaska.
Best wishes for many happy landings.
Dorothy and Roy Dickson always knew their father lived an interesting life, but often felt Dad's experiences were too good to keep to themselves.
Well, we wanted to tell the story, basically. Quite an adventurous story.
Roy Dickson Sr. was one of those great Alaska bush pilots of the 1930s who took on some of the toughest flying conditions and always delivered.
Everything from hardware, fresh fruit, bananas, wedding gowns, lawyer's advice, all sorts of things.
He used vague maps and keen instinct to find his way. The weather was always changing and forced Roy down more than once. But each time he returned home to Anchorage to share it all with his wife and kids.
The airplane arriving was always a big event in the village. Everybody came out.
When he brought his movies home, why, he would show the movies on the window shade. And so the kids in the neighborhood could get around it like a drive-in.
Roy carried his 16mm film camera everywhere he went, at times keeping one hand on the yoke, the other on the focus. The images are a rare account of Alaska long before statehood.
Well, it's such an interesting story of those days and times that are really gone forever.
A few years ago, Roy Jr. donated his father's film collection to the University of Alaska Fairbanks. The school cleaned it up and put it on tape. It was around that time that Roy and his sister started sorting through some of their parents' old notes.
He and my mother sort of made a log of his interesting adventures. Some of them were way more interesting than they wanted them to be.
This is where great family stories become written history. Roy Jr. and Dorothy compiled the tales into a book with a DVD collection of their father's films. It's on its second printing.
It's totally important to document history and experiences that people have had. And being a photographer myself, I know that it's important to keep those memoirs alive for people.
Roy Sr. never got a chance to read the book which bears his name. He died years ago in a plane crash in the lower 48.
That was really too bad. But somebody said, well, you know, at least he died doing what he loved to do, and he did love to fly. There's no question about that.
What better tribute than to share that life with the state he dared venture? At the Alaska Aviation Heritage Museum, Ted Land, Channel 2 News.
Dorothy and Roy Jr. will be signing their book once again tomorrow morning at Once in a Blue Moose gift shop in Anchorage.
They'll also be in Homer and Talkeetna later in the week.